Finding the entrance wasn't hard. While the main entrance had been blocked off with rebar before being filled and sealed with concrete, he'd known about the side entrance from the supernatural forms he'd researched before coming here. That and Cameron's blood was sprinkled here and there, and that scent of it spurred Devon on. Of course, it led right to the entrance. It started unlocking his cuffs the second he thought Brian might be out of earshot. He'd fumbled with the tiny, slippery key before freeing his wrist, revealing blood-crusted fur matted down to the broken skin. Now, Devon moves through the mines in complete darkness. God, you do not want to get lost in the mines. Oh, there he is. Shirtless Brian. Not Brian, Jesus. Devon. Sorry. There's been a lot of Brian in this fucking game. Way too much. Almost suffocating, almost panic-inducing, but the scent of Cameron mixing with the foul odor of Brian pushes the younger bear deeper into the tunnels. The air feels tense, as if the mine itself is intent on seeing what happens next. It's not going to fall into another abyss. When Lupita died, it had been an accident. One that happened after a tornado shredded their town, leveling the block across the street, but leaving their house mostly intact. As a 12-year-old, he just didn't think that it could happen. They had survived an actual disaster, but just as the relief started to set in and his guard started to come down, it happened. He felt powerless in that situation, and he knew that her death had happened because of him. This time is different. He couldn't fight what took Lupita, but he can fight what's taking Cameron. Damn it. After about 10 minutes, though, Devon starts to become more agitated, unable to hear them any longer. And going by scent alone, Devon can tell he's lost the trail. Shit! He hisses through his teeth, trying to keep quiet in case Brian is somehow nearby, lying in wait. Then, somehow, he hears Cameron's singing voice. Devon goes completely still. He'd recognize his boyfriend's voice anywhere, of course, but Cameron's style is different, having the qualities of a singer from the 50s while retaining the grunge-like roughness. Fucking music appraisal. The coyote was heavily influenced by the black and white musicals his mother used to watch late at night. He's embarrassed about it after being critiqued in one of his vocal performance classes, and he tried to change his technique when Devon first met him. But Devon always liked Cameron's voice. It was due to Devon's urging that Cameron leaned into his style. Devon begins moving as fast as he can while staying quiet. He knocks his nose into a few walls, ouch, and scrapes up his elbows and shoulders, but he keeps moving, simply trying to force his way in the direction of the voice. Then, just as he thinks he's a few turns away, it stops. And Cameron screams, and Devon drops all attempts at stealth. Cam! Brian! He calls out to let Brian know that he's there, at least distract him from the coyote. And he barrels his way through the darkness, right into a wall. I'm kidding. Trying to find out what he's sure is the last turn. Why Brian has brought Cameron here, he doesn't know. Doesn't even know what he's going to do when he meets them. Well, anything. He'll do anything. Oh, they're just standing there. Oh, shit. Brian's just like, okay, scream. Brian is looking a bit more distracted, starting to scan the tunnel wall before his eyes settle on what looks like a large crack from the ceiling to the ground. Aaron turns up his singing a notch, knowing that this is their destination, the end of the road. No, it ain't. You're going in the crack. You shouldn't have said that. The old bear glances at him, looking annoyed. This, for whatever reason, is what brings Brian out of his stimulated hyperfocus. Brian finally realizes what's happening. It's only now that the old bear remembers Cameron's plan to take the key. What? Oh, man. It's just something so convenient about that. I'm just like, Come on, man. Come on, man. Even Cameron forgot. Now a huge paw flies to his pocket, digging inside and realizing it's too late before he whirls on Cameron. Oh, you little fudge muffin. Cameron turns and runs, trying to take advantage of Brian letting him go for a couple of seconds. Ow! Ooh, the lower back. Something pounds into Cameron's lower back, just to the right, and it feels like my pillow fell off of my chair. It also feels like a cannonball being smashed through his body. Cameron is launched forward against the tunnel wall directly in front of him as he tries to hold on to it, sliding down slightly. Just... And he tries to hold on to it as he stares straight up into the darkness. So dark that Cameron can't tell if the ceiling is a few feet above him, or if it's simply endless space full of glowing arches that stretch on forever. Red alert! Run! His eyes stay wide, his breath leaking out of his muzzle in a slow, high-pitched rasp. Not wanting to believe the pain he feels spreading through his body, through his insides is real. Then he's on the ground, writhing and groaning uncontrollably while electric pain spiderwebs through his body. The blows Brian had delivered before are nothing compared to this. Cameron thrashes around in the dirt, desperate to find a way out of the hell. He's in hell! Hell's kitchen! Fire! Who's in hell? He has to be. What are these red arches, and why are the flames spreading from his guts up to his lungs? It's called the sciatic nerve. Well, you seem pretty calm. Damn, you probably only pissed blood after that one. Brian's mock concerned voice snaps Cameron back to the situation he's in. In the very back of his head, he realizes his trip is beginning its descent. Pain is still present, though, and it's not letting up. How can he feel pain if he's nothing? He's finally breathing again, but each exhale is accompanied by a whining wheeze. A whining wheeze. Involuntary tears rolling down his face. Brian leans over him and the coyote cringes. Stop, please! Brian pauses and just grabs Cameron by the arm and yanks him up. Cameron lets out a hoarse, breathless scream as his aching body is forced to move again. It echoes around them before cutting off as a huge arm tightens around Cameron's throat. Hey, there we go. Devon's entering the scene. Brian! Devon's voice is very close, maybe only a tunnel or two away. Brian mumbles quietly next to Cameron's ear.
Shut the fuck up right now, or I'll obliterate your other kidney, got it?
Cameron feels the threat hovering over the left side of his back this time, and he quickly shuts his muzzle, even though groans still force their way up muffled behind his lips. This seems to at least satisfy Brian, and he drops the chokehold before shoving Cameron forward. First, Cameron is surprised that the bear didn't just hit him again anyway, but Brian's distracted again. Devon's too close, and a few terrible plans go through the older bear's head. It causes Cameron's already aching abdomen to lurch with nausea and fear. Brian considers waiting and ambushing Dev, but he quickly discards the idea as he realizes Cameron might try to warn Devon by making a noise right as he reaches them. That's exactly what Cameron would do, even if it means being beaten to death by Brian. Deciding again that nothing matters anymore, he pushes Cameron forward through the narrow opening, the passage becoming more tight up until Brian has to turn sideways to struggle through, and then it opens up. Here comes that room. That same room. There it is. God, yep. That fucking room. The room that started it all, really. Cameron smells death. He instinctively backs up right into Brian. No, please don't do this, no. I can't. He can't finish that sentence. It's literally what it says. Not literally, but almost. Brian's victims felt pain. That still seems unimaginable to this coyote. Knowing Devon is close behind them, Cameron makes one last effort to turn and dodge around Brian, but the bear is far too large. And he easily grabs up the coyote and throws him further into the hollow. Cameron comes up immediately, trying to suppress his whines and whimpers. Brian, just wait a second, think about it. I can help you. Why did you bring me here in the first place? Brian gives Cameron a dispassionate look, but he does pause, and that gives Cameron some hope. Some time. Let me talk to them. Let me see if I can reason with them. We both know that all of this is over. Cameron senses a slight shift in Brian's intentions as the bear begins to seriously consider Cameron's reasoning. I know you need my help. I can feel them. They want you, Brian, and they're waiting for you. I know what it can be like. Walking in circles for most of your life. Making the same stupid mistakes and knowing what you need to do to get better, but just never doing it.
Oh, yeah?
But I finally did. My life was almost perfect. Until I met you. So let's do it. Let's end this nightmare right now. Brian takes a deep breath and holds it. The entire mind, the entire town seems to hold its breath with them. Cameron starts to understand how deeply entwined this bear is with this place. This entity that seems to be pulling all the strings. Cameron can feel the monolithic entity shift and turn as if it too senses an inevitable end. Brian is close to taking the coyote's offer. But it isn't meant to be, and Cameron, of course, knows that. Scuffling from the entrance announces Devon's arrival.
Guess she's finally here, huh? Glad I brought my 10 gauge. Always want to make sure you got good firepower when bears are involved, eh?
Cameron watches in horror as the old bear opens the shotgun before inserting a shell. Cameron's mind is blank as he automatically lunges at the huge bear, grabbing the shotgun barrel as Brian snarls in rage. Everything's falling apart. You're spiraling. Shoves his bulk through the narrow passage, squeezing through to the hollow on the other side. When he stumbles into the open space, Devon spots Cameron immediately, the coyote being swung left and right as he fights with Brian over the shotgun. Cameron is covered in blood, tears matting the fur on his cheeks. The situation is already a terrible one, but again, his fear for Cameron turns to anger at Brian as he sees the bear throwing vicious, crushing kicks to Cameron's lower body. Devon realizes this is it. He has no time to think. Devon charges up behind the older bear and he bites deeply into the side of Brian's neck. Apparently biting someone other than himself is a lot more effective, and he feels his canines sink deep into the flesh beneath the thick fur. The old man is covered in a layer of protective padding, just like himself, but the older bear clearly has a lot more of it. Still, Brian screams, high-pitched and full of fury. Then, Cameron is finally shaken loose from the shotgun, and Brian grabs the barrel with both paws before ramming the butt of the shotgun into Devon's stomach. The younger bear retches and crumples over, but he manages to grab the shotgun, holding onto the stock tightly. Brian, clearly aware of how bad the situation could become for him, lets go of the shotgun so he can turn around and throw a knee up into Devon's hunched form, an inch above the navel, almost the exact spot he'd hit earlier. Devon feels as if his guts are flattened to the spine before liquefying, the force actually lifting him off the ground for a half second. Even though he's landed on his feet, he immediately sinks to his knees, muzzle wide open as he continues to battle with his own lungs, all while still trying to hold onto the shotgun.
You're dead meat walking, boy! On your knees anyway, what a surprise!
Brian fumbles shakily to find the stock of the shotgun, hidden somewhere underneath Devon's bulk, while simultaneously trying to avoid the end of the barrel in case Devon is able to find the trigger. The attack had been enough to rattle Brian, even if it was short-lived. Devon curses himself, trying to move, knowing he probably can't win, but he needs to do something. Maybe hurt Brian so bad that Cameron can at least get away. Get up! But he can't breathe. So there's not much he can do to defend himself, let alone stand up. So Devon keeps his hold on the shotgun, even as Brian starts trying to yank it away from his weakened grasp. He's trying to succeed. Cam, run! Devon rasps, not even sure where Cameron is right now, assuming he still might be on the ground after being kicked so many times. Brian squeals. Looking up from his doubled up position, Devon sees Brian in front of him, bent over as well, the grizzled bear grabbing between his legs. Cameron must have kicked him? Yeah, as Brian sinks lower, Cameron appears, lowering a foot. The coyote smiles with relief and joy at seeing Devon and seeing that he's got the shotgun. Cameron seems so sure that they've won that he doesn't see Brian's quick recovery, the old bear forcing himself up, the murderous vengeance in his eyes as he runs at Cameron with another animalistic scream. Devon only watches the huge bear charges at Cameron. No! The much smaller coyote can only yelp in panic before Brian smashes into him and crushes him against the wall. Oh my god! Devon hears a crunching sound just as he gets his first tiny sip of air, just as he hears Cameron's own air wheeze out in a yowl-like moan. And then, even more viciously than Devon had attacked Brian, the old bear begins to maul Cameron. Oh, fuck! Brian bashes him left and right with blows aimed at the coyote's face before Cameron collapses. There, Brian begins to rip and tear into the coyote with his claws. Devon begins to move, but it's slow, and he just wishes his lungs would start working. He struggles with the shotgun, but he suddenly opens up, and Devon doesn't know anything about working guns, so he leaves it behind. He leaves it behind! It's knowing that he needs to stop Brian. Cameron tries to crawl away from Brian, and Devon sees the horror mirrored in his boyfriend's eye. Boyfriend says, Jesus! Brian comes down on him again, and Cameron throws his left elbow back at the bear's face, only for Brian to sink his teeth into Cameron's forearm and elbow. He twists and tears, and Cameron lets out a howling sound, his body twisting violently. God damn. On his back now. And he goes quiet, staring in shock at the wall he's laying perpendicular to, his eyes beginning to roll up as Brian thrashes his head and crunch sounds from Cameron's arm. The coyote can't make any sounds now, his breath seemingly knocked out of him by the pain. Devon has never heard Cameron make these feral pain sounds, not like this. And to see him in so much agony that he can't breathe, can't even vocalize it anymore, it gives Devon the final push he needs. He charges into Brian. Shotgun open up this way. Can't figure out to do that. Sorry, I'm sorry. He charges into Brian and the force knocks the old bear off the coyote. Devon has never seriously mauled someone in his entire life, but it's something that comes naturally to him and Brian. And while he had play mauled people in the past, including Cameron, this is the first time he begins his claws, teeth, and muscles to full use. He brings them. Startling the older bear, Devon roars at Brian before lunging down. He bites Brian's neck again, but from the front this time, while his paws rip and tear into the bigger bear's hide. Brian seems to concentrate for a second before burying his fist up into Devon's stomach. The younger bear is tensed up this time, and the fist gets no further than his stomach muscles. Still, Brian's power is almost supernatural, and Devon lurches and grunts, folding over, an ache forming deep into the pit of his belly. It only makes him bite harder. Devon can feel that he's truly stunned the old bear, at least for now, and as Brian takes his fist back, he resorts to panicked shoves instantly, instead of actually trying to fight. When Brian finally does try to claw at Devon's face and eyes, the younger bear leans back and smashes his head into Brian's muzzle. Uh-oh, here's the blood again. The sound it makes indicates a broken snout, and Brian lets out another high-pitched whine before screaming and trying to lunge up to bite Devon's neck. Devon leans back, just avoiding the teeth before smashing his head a second time into Brian's face. Oh, jeez. Then as Brian lays dazed, Devon lays into his snout 3 more times, full force, trying to pound every bit of agony into Brian that the old bear had given all of them. That would be impossible, though. Still, Devon feels a savage satisfaction as he sees at least 2 of the old bear's yellow teeth roll out of his muzzle. Brian howls and rolls violently, finally dislodging the slightly smaller bear. Devon heaves for breath, watching as Brian comes up several feet away, crouching and also heaving for breath. You fucking... You... Brian can barely form words, and not just because he's out of breath. His bitter hatred is evident, so mad that only frothy spit flies from his lips as he sputters. But then Brian's eyes flick to the right, and Devon remembers all at once that he'd left the gun there, having been focused on helping Cameron. The old bear moves lightning fast once again, and he shoots off to the right, and Devon realizes Cameron is there too. Cameron, look out! Oh no! Cameron, laying in agony after Brian's vicious attack, knows something is deeply wrong with his body. The crushing against the wall of the chamber had done it. The true pain, though, emanates from his left arm, and Cameron knows that it's mangled, broken, and useless. But he can still use his legs. Cameron forces himself to get up and starts moving for the shotgun, hearing the snarls and growls of the bears behind him. He does his best to stay quiet, but stifled grunts and small squeaks force their way out of his throat. As soon as he touches the shotgun, though, he hears Devon shout, Cameron, and again, the nightmare that is Brian is tearing at his body, pinning him to the wall, and Cameron screams in terror as the huge bear starts trying to bite his neck. The panicked coyote is only just able to get his unbroken arm up. It's maybe only 3 seconds before Devon is there. But it feels like an eternity, Cameron considering how badly it might feel to die from having his throat ripped out. Cameron's right arm is torn up as well, but since Brian is just gnawing and isn't shaking his head this time, his bones at least remain intact. And Devon wrenches the bigger bear off of him. Cameron tries to get up, to crawl, but it's useless, his body too beaten and broken to do anything other than dragging himself away. Then he hears Brian's high-pitched squealing again, but this time it's genuinely terrified. Cameron looks over and sees the old bear is now on his back with his arm in a sort of hold by Devon. Devon is laying on his back, Brian's arm being pulled towards his chest, Devon's hips close to the old bear's shoulder as his legs lock together at the ankles. Devon grunts and heaves with all his might, his huge, powerful body arching up toward the ceiling. Devon is intent on really hurting Brian this time, wanting to make sure he pays the old man back for Cameron's tooth and arm. So with the tooth part avenged, Devon focuses on destroying the other bear's arm. Bear bones are especially hard to break. Devon had never broken a bone in his life, but the younger bear knows a thing or two about applying force. His dad watched MMA all the time, and while he knows little about fighting, he knows why arm bars can be so devastating. But even as he leans back, bending the big bear's arm over his inner thigh, only a few cracks are heard, but it's nothing serious. Devon needs the arm to have less resistance and more distance from the fulcrum. 3, 2, 1, match over. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a limb and say this is more of a Texas deathmatch kind of situation, because I bet both of them could answer the count of 10. Locking his legs, he takes a second to slam his right foot into the older bear's jaw. Just for a second, Brian goes limp, and Devon relocks his ankles before lifting the limp arm away from his chest and curling up. Then he heaves back on the arm again, arching hard, more arches, while he twists his body. Torque! Now you're thinking like an engineer. Damn! As a catchphrase of one of Devon's old professors comes to his mind, a crack splits the air. Brian's screams somehow reach a new panic pitch. Devon looks over to see Cameron has dragged himself a few feet away, leaving a dark, horrible blood trail smeared behind him. Devon stumbles over to him, hovering his paws over the coyote's neck. Baby, your neck, let me see it. Oh, he didn't get me, let's go. Cameron is in no shape to run, so he groans as Devon lifts him into his arms, the bear starting to stumble toward the exit. You didn't kill Brian. He just has a broken arm and a fucked up face. He's gonna come after you. He's on bath salts. Devon looks down at the coyote in his arms, just now seeing how truly terrible Cameron's injuries are. Need to get out. Need to get you out of here. Shit, what? In a frantic chaos of fighting off Brian and in making sure his boyfriend wasn't bleeding out, Devon had forgotten something. The butt of the shotgun, powered by the old bear's huge body, reminds him with a harsh, sickening ache that spreads in a wave through his body. Cameron hears the dull thud, followed by the vibration through Devon's thick body. Feels the bear cringe as he sinks to his knees, huddled over Cameron. So you guys still didn't grab the fucking shotgun? You fucking... Why? Hey, one of those arms is supposed to be broken. How is he using it? You jackasses didn't grab the shotgun? The very least could have used it for a fucking... a crutch. The huge bear lifts up the shotgun he'd managed to keep a hold of. What? Alright, whatever. Struggles to hold it up with only his left paw. That doesn't look right, according to this picture. And his injured right arm dangles before he practically swings it up to prop his right elbow against the wall. We'll just have to assume that's the case. Few pops coming from his shoulder as he does. Yeah, he's on bath salts. He'd probably be able to do that. He screams again when that happens, but his fully functional wrist, he can now take steady aim, and with how narrow the hollow is, there's nowhere to go. Don't you fucking move. You got that? Jesus. This is over. I'm killing that Yodi in front of you, and I'm ripping your fucking arm off, boy! Brian's expression is an odd mixture of excitement and disgust. What do you have? Ain't half as cute as a pup. Devon can only wheeze in response. Cameron holds on to him tightly as he's cradled in his arms. God, you fucking ruined it! It was perfectly fine till you showed up. I was fucking fucked up to the point he's not even fuckable. Jesus Christ. Cameron's ability to see and feel things is fading, just as the effects of the shrooms are fading. So there's just a bit left, and Cameron tries his best to use it. Devon's body begins trembling, and Cameron holds on to him more tightly. Devon's voice, still breathless, whispers into Cameron's ear. Honey, whatever happens, just play dead, okay? No matter what. How is his head doing that? Your head is all the way backwards. Jesus Christ. Cameron suddenly turns. Devon watches as Cameron's face becomes a bouquet of red ribbons, and the bear stumbles as a shot hits his arm as well. Cameron's body jerks violently in his arms before going incredibly still. Devon quickly looks down to see Cameron no longer with a face. Everything that used to make up his face is splattered against the walls, and it still pours from Cameron is gone. Shocked, Devon looks at his arm and sees the white of bone shards. First thinking was his own. But then he sees a few of Cameron's sharp teeth is also embedded in his arm. Devon leans over Cameron's body, an expression of untold anguish on his face as he starts to let out a low, terrible groan that rises in pitch to a bearish howl. Oh, you fucking... That's why I didn't immediately freak out about it, because I'm like, this game has pulled some weird supernatural shit. I was like... They're looking forward. You schmuck. Cameron does the only thing he can think of. Yup. Definitely grabbing that. No! Cameron grabs the barrel and shoves up. Sound is so loud that it instantly deafens Cameron. Though the ringing starts to subside. It would take, like, many minutes for a 10-gauge shotgun in a tiny, rocky room for that sound to subside for all of you. The hearing in his right ear doesn't come back. Cameron! Cameron! I'm fine, I'm fine. Cameron looks where Brian is. The kickback from the 10-gauge had hit him hard, squarely in the chest. Cameron can almost visualize the shock sent through that old, worn-out heart, already exhausted from the stimulant and fight. The old bear, still on unsteady feet, stumbles back a bit more before hitting the wall and sliding down it to sit. Brian sits propped up against it, looking confused. Clutches his chest, rubbing it and grimacing. The shotgun is on the ground, out of Brian's reach, and the old bear makes no move to get it. Fuck. Starts to try and get back up, but falls back down. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I'm hearing heartbeats. They mentioned his old heart. Are you seriously gonna have him die of a heart attack? Someone in chat, we got Born to Lose saying bye-bye, Brian. Brian clutches his chest and stomach and groans. Oh no. That was it? Is this it? What the fuck? What the fuck? What? Brian slumps back, his body convulsing, then he thrashes about, as if he's trying to escape something. He knocks over and smashes the electric lantern. Thanks! Crushing it under his weight. That's real nice of you, you douche. Knock out our only source of light. So for more seconds, we have listened to Brian's groaning, rasping, and snorting. Or it's silent. It's quiet for a little while longer, Cameron and Devon not daring to move. Brian had seemed invincible for so long. Cameron can't get himself to believe that it might be over. Devon whispers into Cameron's ear. Cameron, how do you feel? Cameron gives Devon a look that's a mix of love and exasperation, even if Devon can't see it. They both know he's badly fucked up. I think something ruptured. It feels all wrong. Cameron places his right paw on his own torso, wincing. Don't move, okay? I'll get us out. I'll get us out in no time. Devon starts to tentatively make his way forward, And just as Cameron is realizing how long this might actually take, possibly too long if there's internal bleeding, his vision flickers. An arch! Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Cameron stares at it, then looks at Devon, wincing at the bear's bloodied, bruised face. But Devon doesn't react to the light, like Cameron is the only one seeing it. But a shroom tip can't emit light, no matter how hard you're tripping. I think I can see where to go. Just walk straight. How? Cameron starts to shake his head, then stops as his neck sends a pang of fiery pain down his back. I don't know. But I can see. Let's just get out of here. Please. Cameron tries hard not to look at Brian's crumpled form against the side wall of the hollow, his wide open eyes glinting from the gentle glow. Okay. Just tell me where, okay? And sure enough, as they leave, arch after arch appears. And Cameron is confident they'll lead to the exit. These arches had tortured his mother, but this feels like his mother somehow. As they move, they both hear rustling sounds far behind them in the mines, but Brian is definitely dead, or at least he had been when they left. So they keep moving, trying to be quiet. Then, within an hour, real light. Yeah, that spider's just wrapping Brian up. There they are. Daylight. Yeah. Devon looks down at Cameron and winces, just like Cameron did when he saw Devon's face. God, honey, we're gonna get you help. And you're gonna get better, okay? What about you? Do you feel okay? Cameron's voice is weaker than it was earlier, and Cameron feels Devon quicken his pace. I'm fine. Devon says it sternly, setting his jaw, and Cameron stays quiet. Cameron, I'm sorry. And that's the last time you're saying that to me, okay? I don't blame you for anything. I'm just so glad I met you. He listens to the bear's heartbeat, steady for most of the journey, getting faster as they get closer to the exit. I think I hear a helicopter. Maybe a megaphone? Shit, did people come for us? The shotgun blew out my hearing, so I'm not really sure. Wow, that's fucking nice. Look at that shit. That's fucking nice. It's an arch. His trip is mostly over, yet these visions are so vivid. Cameron stares at this new arch, and something about it feels different. Oh. Mom, I found it. Huh? Her arch. You seeing arches? He's losing his shining powers. You know how something can be so... What? You know how something can happen that's so impactful it splits your life in two? Like, you see life as before, and after that moment it can be good or bad. Devon hesitates, like he wants an answer to the question he just asked, but he lets it go for now. Of course. I think meeting you is the good divide in my life. I think what happened here, what's gonna happen after, I think it's the bad divide. It had always been his mother's death, and it still is a divide. But this time, Cameron realizes he's been deeply affected mentally, and it's not something he can just recover from. Something's truly wrong with him. It's been the case for a long time, but now, after this, something's been pushed over the edge. So, another divide. I think we're gonna be okay, Cameron. Devon, whatever happens after this, I love you. And I'm so happy I'm in. Come on, you didn't have to say that first part. We made it. Okay? It's just a fork in the road. Cameron gasps. Oh, Devon, Artie's alive. He went to get us help, I think. I hope. What? How? I don't know. He got shot, but he got away. Brian was pissed. He's hurt, but I think he made it. Oh, that's... Devon's lips tremble and his face twists up slightly as he tries not to cry. It's out of incredible relief and happiness. Cameron doesn't tell him how bits of Artie are missing, or that he can't sense him anymore, both because of his waning powers and because Artie is too far away. At least that's what he hopes. Cameron stares up at the arch, looking both beautiful and terrible at the same time, blue. Raincoat Monster stands to the side as they pass, and this time Cameron does think it's his old hallucination. Cardboard and unmoving, just like he's always been. But something about all of this, the way he's seeing things, something has changed. It's not his psychic abilities, because it's subtle and hardly noticeable again. No, something else happened and his mind feels wrong. Looking forward is no longer clear, but as Cameron uses the last of his psilocybin in his system to peer into their future, he becomes afraid by what he sees. So he just turns his muzzle slightly to Devon. Cameron, we're gonna make it. Based on what he saw, Cameron isn't sure. Devon will stay. He was able to see that much. But should he? More than anything, they both want to stay together, but if Cameron becomes a burden to Devon, he doesn't know how he can stay. He just hopes Devon can still love him after this terrible change, and he hopes that he can fight it, whatever it is. So Cameron leans his head against Devon's shoulder, smiling in a mostly happy way, but silently sad way. All right. Now let's get the hell out of here. To be continued. Yeah, let's fucking save here. So I guess how their life continues after this will be the... Ooh, adorable, yes. How their life continues after this will be the next build. You know, the epilogue. Yes, an arch. So... that was a hell of a thing. The credits. Arches felt a little pace-wise, a little messed up. Like, there were parts where they just went on for a long time at points where it just didn't make sense for them to go on for a long time, and then, like, plot happened. I don't know. It's hard to describe, I guess. The main thing I'm trying to say here is that it's hard not to feel like the same thing kind of happened here that I feel happened to the ending part of Adastro, where it felt like it was going for a bit, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh fuck, it's ending? Like, what? There's nothing wrong with having a shorter story, especially when, you know, Arches is, you know, the third game in a series of games where, you know, the Smoke Room and Echo had been noticeably a lot longer. There's nothing wrong with having a variety of the size of games. I would say, though, that if you want to have characters where their backstory is a part of the reason why we're supposed to care about them, like having their backstories established incrementally, that's totally fine, but having it shoved in at random points for extremely long points, I don't know, sometimes it felt like it was shoved in I'm using weird language at this point, but it felt like it was implemented at strange points and for weird lengths of time. As far as Build 7 specifically, because we haven't seen the last of Arches, I really didn't like some of the things that were said here. I like the fact that we finally get to see the end of Brian, but like, even in like, even his dialogue was like, is that it? What the fuck? It kind of phrased it in a way, like they have this, oh, what do we get this? At least the Echo series is getting updated consistently. Looking at you, Adastro series with Interia being just fan service for Amicus Sims. Yeah, that's very true. But I mean, I think that's kind of the reason why Arches might have gotten cut short, is because they're planning this like year of Adastra. So they had to get this out of the way. That's at least my theory. I have no confirmation on that, but that's just what it feels like. Brian going out with this big fight where he's just this overwhelming force. The fight seemed to be all at once kind of over really quickly. Barely effective. Some of the choices in it were kind of, you know, poor in my opinion. Barely effective, yes. And then we get a death fake out, which at this point, because there is so much supernatural hooey going on with the main character that is so uncharacteristic for the series. But again, there's no reason why that's inherently bad. You can have different stuff in a series, but it does mark it out as suspicious. Anytime something uncharacteristic happens, it makes it hard to buy into, at least for a longtime fan of the series. Which, why would you be playing this game if you weren't already a fan of the series? I mean, I guess you can, but it'd be a really weird entry point. The fight scene felt a little anticlimactic to me. Yeah, if the death had lasted a little longer, could have been better. That's an idea. That could have... Yeah. Maybe. Damn, Echo over a year? It feels weird that it's been over a year, and it also feels weird that it's not been longer as well, because it feels like it's been so long since that happened. Like, Echo feels like something from a long time ago, but it also feels like something I played for 17 centuries. Feels like there's going to be another update soon. Like, it's weird. But anyway, I would say Brian dying of a heart attack in the middle of the mine just feels a little anticlimactic, but you know what? It's fine. it was kind of foretold when someone was like, if you could just die of a heart attack or something. I think that was said earlier in the game. All in all, I'm excited to see what happens next. I want to know what the hell happens in the next /last build. I want to know what fucking happens. Yeah, I started playing Echo 2017. People kept asking me to play it, and I was like, oh, what's this gonna be? And then still here. And once we finish Arches, the only Echo game that'll still be going will be the Smoke Room, and that's all the routes are still active on that, so who knows when the fuck that'll finish. And we've got no reason to believe that there'll be another Echo game. Overall, other than a few concerning things I feel like was said, that I would just say I would disagree with, if anything. I think this was a good build. I wish this game had more time to breathe. Overall, I'm looking forward to the next build, but that is all for Arches. Until the next build, which is, as of recording and streaming this, is available for patrons. And soon-ish will be available for public. Can't wait for that. Your window to the VNs. Aw, thank you.